Hello, 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 everyone. This is your girl Shanidra with Beyond the Cover. Yes, where you will discover exactly what it is and what it's going to be. As you can see with me, I have my daddy. Right here, I'm going to allow him to introduce himself before we dive right in.
But hello. It's your boy, the angel, Father Shanidra. We're going to get into some heavy topics today. So uh, stay with us. Well, hopefully, it'll all be worth it.
That's all you're going to tell them about you.
I thought you were kind of introducing that. I didn't want to hog
Oh,
up the
you
whole
want me
stage.
to introduce? Oh, okay. Well, this is my biological father. Um, we have, been through a lot in these past years, and I'm so thankful that I was able to reconnect with my father years ago. It's been all of my son, Esteban's life, isn't it? 12 years. 12 years. So, my younger years, he was in my life, but I wasn't able to see him as much as I would have liked to. So that confused me a little bit. But see, I didn't know him. So I had to get to know him. There was things that I thought about him and that I felt about him, but I really didn't know him. Um, there was a lot of ways that were alike that I didn't even know. But until I found out about my daddy and learned about my daddy, there was just a lot of confusion uh, of me being confused of certain things that I'm not going to dig into right now. But I'm just going to allow my father to give you a backstory on his side of, how, it went from childhood and up.
I do think those are important points. As you know, I grew up in foster care without my parents. Father wasn't even on my birth certificate, those kind of things. Didn't meet until I was 23 years old. But uh, both my parents in this situation, because usually, the rallying cry for the country we're in and the time we're in is, of course, where's the father? But I grew up in a situation of also where's the mother, right? So that's a big departure because we have a society that where things don't work out, the father's pushed out, as opposed to the mother. And so growing up without either gives you a little bit of perspective because all of that easy father hatred that this society is able to generate put me in a spot of, well, then am I going to hate my mother like that? She wasn't there either, right? Because people, whoa, that's your mom. Yeah, your dad spit on his grave, don't go, whatever else. But your mom, hang on, she's a human being. So I have to decide at that point, am I going to put the same branding on her that I have on him? Neither one are there, right? And so now, of course, the way we're wired, we're not prepared to do it to our mother. So now at this point, I'm an adult. And if I'm not going to put it on both, if I'm not going to put it on both, I shouldn't put it on one. Also, at the age you are right now, both of them had passed, right? I could have been, there was no guarantee that my parents would still be around for me to milk a grudge any amount of time. I had to get over it. I didn't know at the time, well, let me get over it by my early 30s because they'll be gone by then. It's let me get over it because I'm an adult. As an adult, I got my own kids mad at, right? Once you have kids, you realize uh, there's somebody judging every moment and everything you do at that point. And so you go from, hey, I'll never do this to my kids to your kids going, can I get anything? do you do anything? You go, I'm doing everything the opposite of my parents, you know, but my father's not on my birth certificate. I'm there, first person in your life holding you in my arms. You know, I'm trying to do everything the opposite. And of course, it's going to be null and void, not good enough, no matter what it is. So it's very tough in these days and time that we live in, where it's hard even to get parental appreciation from kids, let alone have your work appreciated of what you're trying to do, because they don't see the gap you're trying to fill. They just see what they're not getting. Right. You know, they're not like, well, you're doing it so much different than your mother did. I'm glad to be your child. They're just like, you're horrible.
Right.
So that's part of it. So that's the reason throughout your life, I was just like, I'm not going to leave any of those markers that I felt. I don't want to leave any doubt. I don't want to leave, you know, I'm not going to have a blank spot on her birth certificate. I'm not going to allow myself to be pushed out the picture if I can. I'm not going to allow, you know, everything I can do to miss out. And I didn't want to miss out. I'd already spent my time without my parents. I didn't want to spend my time without my kids. And so, you know, you got to really understand where people are coming from and, you know, the pain and the things that they're dealing with.
Right. And now that I am a mother, um, I couldn't imagine, starting any younger than 22. So, um, you know, um, understanding, that y'all are human too. And, y'all did the best that y'all could, with everything understood as far as, the age that y'all started, um, and everything, you know, that
Now,
took.
hang on. We did wait till 11th grade to bring you into the world. So, I mean, we were up there a little bit.
So, y'all did the best that y'all could, which I understand now. But as a child, I did hold on to, you being gone or whatever, and because everybody knows that the dad is like, the daughter's first love, the first person to, wow her or whatever. Like my daughter now, she's a daddy's girl. No matter, it has nothing to do with, if she loves me or anything like that. She's just a daddy's girl. That's just what it is. So, you know, and I now that I have a daughter and I just see, anything that the dad does is just like it affects the daughter so much because it's daddy. It's like my daddy did this. Like how drastic and dramatic my daughter is when if he doesn't answer the phone on time. She called. So her daddy needs to just answer because she called and this is not right and this is not fair. And, I can understand and see, because she holds her daddy up to this high pedestal and, she just expects him to be Superman all the time. And, he just has to answer his phone because that's his daughter, in her
Mhm.
eyes. I'm the daughter. He should answer the phone for me. So, growing up, of course, we both know that I did have, an awesome stepdad that was great and, the best I could ever ask for. So I couldn't ask for any more. But there was still a void because even when you do have an awesome dad in place or whatever, you still want to know the other part of you.
Mhm.
So you can feel more complete, so you can know who you are, especially when you're always hearing you're nothing like me. So you're like, well, and I'm just like somebody I'm not around. So it's like, I really want to know that person. Since I'm not like this person, I would like to get to know the other person.
It
But
is important. You know, I've spent a bunch of time as a step parent, you know, and it's more thankless than being a father. So you know, it's a very tough job, obviously, being your stepfather. um, to my knowledge, have at least maintained a mutual respect of each other. He's made it quite easy for me to do what I have to do, for in my life, whatever I felt was the mission at the time, without the distraction of my child's in danger, my child's at risk, my child, because I would have to make a U-turn. I would have had to stay in Knoxville. I would have had to do a lot of things that I would have felt were slowing me up and progressing in the things I needed to do, to move forward in life, because that would have been an emergency, right? Like, hey, I got to go over there every weekend because this is going on or that's going on or that kind of stuff. And I never had, those concerns. And so um, it's been important. And even as a stepfather myself, I try to give the biological parent those type of respects. Uh, and because I know what it feels like in both shoes, uh, you don't want anybody interfering with your biological kid. You know that you're not the real father, you know, but you still have all of the duties, right? So you're not my real dad, but do all the real dad work. So, I've always respected that because, like I said, I know that's most thankless job in the world is basically as a step parent, which is like, great, you did all of this work, and as soon as I can, where's my real one? So I've had no qualms of issues, for y'all's relationship, your respect for him, or any of those things, because I know what that takes, and I have a lot of respect for what it took for him to do that. Uh, and I did not consider those to be the same job. I never said, well, he's there, I'm done, right? And mothers can do that, right? Like I've found you a new toy to play with, so you don't need to you don't need your real toy. And it's like, that's no, we have separate jobs. This person's coming in and is your new mate. They're fulfilling other issues and ancillary parent, but I'm still the biological parent. I still have all the responsibilities. Um, Everybody's happy to tell the courts that I'm the real parent and have those responsibilities. So I can't just be dad when it's at the courthouse. I'm still this child's father or these children's father.
Right. So, with that being said, um, there was, as a child, there was a lot of things that, I had expressed to you when I graduated high school, whatever, that, I wanted you to be at. There was, important things like graduations, like, when I had my first chorus event, certain things that, you're thankful that you have your mother and your stepfather, but you see everybody else with their dad, so you're like, I want my dad, I want my dad to see this moment of me singing. I want my dad to see this moment of me graduating. It was a lot of moments that I harbored, and I felt, like, why my dad is not here and why he don't love me enough to, want to be here and, you know, be in my life. I'm his first child, he should be here. I watched my brothers be with their dad, why I can't be with my dad? Why, why does he not want me? That was in my mind though, all the time. It was like, why do I feel like I'm not wanted, or like he doesn't want me, or we know all the others, but we're not gonna. I'm only discussing, like, as far as how I feel, as far as
We had ours in a very different time. We didn't get the social media aspect, and that was a lot tougher. Like, your brother just graduated, right, in June, and was able to talk to him or have a video call going into his graduation. able to see pictures immediately that his family took, and all this kind of stuff. Even though we're almost 4,000 miles away, and he's in another country, it's able to see more of that than yours, because when I was calling you, a 10-minute call was like $25 or something, and that robs you of a lot of things. You have to strategically, hey, you made a long distance call. You can't keep catching people. If they don't pick up, you just try again in 10 minutes. You might be anywhere. Uh, and it was a real setback for the way these people are able to stay connected. I mean, they've lived their whole life in another country, but I was able to stay on video at no cost. I was able to stay integrated. And as with these three different groups, right? This middle group and this third group, uh, there's being give and take. One's been out of the country, I can't drive and see them like I could. You couldn't do this, that, and the other like I could. All of everybody that was in Tennessee, so they just had to go the rest of their life without contact, except they grew up in the social media age where they didn't feel like there was any interruption per se. He just went 12 years without being able to see me at all, but um, it didn't feel like it because he could talk to me throughout the week. Whereas with you, you would see me from time to time, but it was still more hit and miss, and it wasn't able to maintain that consistency.
And I think that's the main thing that I am a stickler about is like consistency. Um, Even in men, like you can't consistently, be there and consistently this and consistently that. It's like I don't have time because it was like I wanted to make sure that, you know, that this would stick and that it wouldn't leave or go anywhere because I had not at that time dealt with the pain and the hurt from, what I felt before talking to you. Had already had a child and everything before I actually had the conversation to deal with the issues because in my head I was like, well, I just don't need him in my life. I don't even care. If he wasn't there, then I don't care. Obviously he missed out on me and all this and that. But then that pain that I still felt, regardless of how I talked to myself or told myself it didn't hurt or it didn't affect me, had lingered into my first real relationship, which was with their father. And, all the pain and hurt that I didn't deal with my own father had moved on to him. Every little detail he did. You walk out, I'm like, oh, you're gonna leave me like my dad. But I had not even talked to my dad. So, it was just like,
Yeah, you can't have an adult relationship after that. It's mindlessly impossible. It's for somebody like me who didn't have their parents growing up, and makes you ready to start a family in 10th or 11th grade because, hey, this didn't happen, right? So I'm gonna have my own, and whether you're ready or have the resource, because as a young person, you've been a young person, right? That you can't. Young people feel like, okay, well, once I'm an adult, I'll work, I have a house and a car and whatever else. No, let's just osmosis to them, right? I'll just get a job, like going to school, and then bills will be paid, and I'll just be living my own life, and I want to listen to nobody else tell me what to do. And it's like, no, there's budgets and rules and keeping employment or being fulfilled and running around, But as a young person, you can't conceive of that. And then when it comes to relationships, how you're raised in these ideas, especially modern day, most of us are raised that, you know, if you act right as the man, it's a home run. Because women are sugar and spice and everything nice. They don't cheat, they don't lie, they don't fight, they don't, all of this nonsense. So you just like, hey, if I'm a good dude, I'm willing to work, I'll drive everywhere, I'll do this, that, and the other. We should never have any problem. But that's not how real life works. It turns out women are people, but people too, and they have their quirks and make mistakes, and and you just have to deal with it. And I think a lot of men have a hard time dealing with that it's not going the way they were going to expect it to go. Right? They're like, if I'm not doing this or I'm not doing that, this should be smooth sailing. But people have everybody's coming in trying to fill different voids, and those voids cannot be fulfilled by relationships. They have to be filled at the source first if you're to have any chance of putting all that weight on another unsuspecting human who's brought you in to deal with their stuff.
Right. And that's exactly, as I've been going on this healing process, that's exactly what God was showing me. Like, we like to leave relationships thinking, I didn't do anything and they messed up and la da da da. But in reality, there's a lot of things that contribute to it. Every action has a reaction. So there was a lot of things that contributed to, breakups and stuff like that. And I mean, now I can see. I couldn't see then because I was uh, my vision was blocked off of the hurt. Like the hurt was blocking what was actually happening. Like all I could see is hurt. Like you're gonna hurt me like him. You're gonna do this like him. Like that's he was like I'm not. And he said it so many times, but I never could hear him. Like I'm not your dad. I'm like I don't care. You're trying to hurt me like him. But I never, until I had that conversation, because I was like, okay, my dad is wanting to come back in my life, but still in the hurt. Like, I'm not going to let him hurt my firstborn and all of this. And in my head, before I talked to you, it was like, this is not going to happen because I'm going to make sure my child is going to feel loved no matter what. And la di da di da. I'm just going to make sure nobody ever hurts him and la di da da. So before he can talk to my son or spend time with my son, I'm going to have a talk with him. Well, that's exactly what I needed to do. And I needed to let out everything and quit having this fake facade like I'm okay. I don't need him anyway type of mentality. That did not help me. I was hurt.
Uh,
I was broken.
it's not
I
about,
needed
it's not about a need. I think in the last 2 or 3 generations, women in particular have been done a disservice about independence and strength and all of these type of things. And it's like that's not what it's about. That's not what the movement has been about. It's been about come into the relationship whole, right? Women are just like, I don't need a man. I don't date because I need anybody. If it was up to me to need a woman in order for me to date, I'd spend my whole life single for that. I mean, I'm just bringing somebody that I got to filter everything I want to do through another human being when I'm an adult. What do I need to do that for? Right? I can feed myself. I can house myself. I don't need a relationship. So, men can walk around full time just like, well, I don't need a woman. Okay. But, I bring in a companion, somebody to take this journey with me. I would like to stand out on the beach and watch the sunset and have somebody say, remember and know how hard we worked to get to this. Remember how long we've saved to get to this. Know how many struggles and things we've had to overcome to get this. And that's what people should want is companionship. I know I spend some time, you know, um, with my relationships. And when I hear them again, they're all, control this and control that, like they had access to billions of dollars or whatever else. And the contrast is you're my daughter, right? All of those things, strong, independent, whatever else. First toy store I went in, I'm like, I'm not buying all of these ovens and baby dolls or whatever. I'm not domesticating my daughter right away. You've had a business named after you since you were in the womb. I've always envisioned you being where you are. That's true strength and independence. And you still do not spend all your energy saying, I'm going to avoid men. I'll never need a man because you've already built in the security first. Back to relationships, the way it's damaged me in a sense was not being around my family, per se, especially parents and stuff like that. I had siblings and stuff, and I care about my siblings. But your siblings go on to their own lives and things like that. So when I got to relationships, I was really like, well, it's gonna be me and you. Boom, here you go. And that's like all of the love I'm humanly capable of. And that is too much to put on another human being. These people had other people to care about. I didn't have my mother, nothing else, but they still had to care about their mother. They still had to care about their uncles and grandmothers or whatever else. And all my focus is zeroed in on them, right? They need to be mom, dad, grandma, sister, um, every bit of my energy and time, if I'm in a relationship, goes to that person. And that's too much energy for a human being to absorb, and they're going to fall short of that amount of expectation because they like, dag, nigga, didn't you got anybody else to love, spend some time with, some energy with, go somewhere else, do anything else? No. My parents had in common that both of their mothers were dead. That's how I ended up in foster care. So I didn't have any grandparents. Then I didn't have any parents. So by the time I get to a relationship, I'm like, nope, just you, 24/7. Just focus on you all day, all night, every day. Especially I came into adulthood already with a kid. Let's just get on with the major stuff. And so it's girlfriend, kid. I don't have anything else to do. I don't have no grandparents to spend no time with. I don't have no parents to go see or whatever else. You're it, and this is going to be my nucleus. My girl, my daughter, that's my 24/7. And that's a lot for people.
So, and being able to talk to you helped me to see men in a different view, because the same view that I have to view my dad and my son in is the same view and the same, um, how should I put it, patience I should have with men and all of that. Because, back then, somewhat now, uh, you know, I don't have that to do. Bye. See you later. Don't, no, no, don't have that to do. And I never took the time to really hear, their story. Like, I couldn't even see their glory because I never listened to their story. So all I could see was any little thing that they did wrong, and I'm like, I'm gone. But now it's like, I listen, because you can't even give any advice or anything until you first listen. You don't know nobody's story looking from the outside in. You would never understand looking from the outside in. And, from the outside, not knowing your story and not knowing, why stuff didn't make sense. I'm like, he's my father. He should know how to be a dad. He should know this, why it don't matter this and it don't matter that. And, all of this and that. Everybody grew up without their father. So that's no excuse. And this is that and that. And, when we had our talk, I was just letting it all out. But I needed to let everything out, because at that point, I already played in my head like, it don't matter at this point. I've already overworked myself of thinking, if he don't really love me, then I'm done anyway. I'm just going to let it all out. So if he don't, then, it's done. I let everything out. So that was my thing going into our conversation. Like, I'm going to let it out, see what he's about, and keep it moving. But when I actually, at that time that I was actually able to talk to you, and being a first time mom, it was just like, I still wanted to hear, what you had to say. And, I wasn't going to take any excuses or anything. But when you just was like, you didn't make any excuses, and you just, owned up, okay, I remember that. It wasn't like you was in denial of anything that I said or anything. You was just like, okay, I remember that. And I'm like, and that hurt me because I felt like you did not like. He was like, no, let me tell you, so I'll let you say
Yeah,
that,
well, because kids are egocentric, right? Everything that's happening is happening to them, right? If the ice cream truck didn't come down the street today, it was just to spite them knowing they wanted ice cream, you know. And part of growing up is that everything isn't happening to you. We all have to, go through that, and it's tough because people take all of those issues into relationships. You take all those expectations, you take all of those things, and everybody nowadays is just showing up with a checklist in a relationship, right? This is everything that didn't go right in my life so far, and part of me fixing it is bringing you in, to make it right. And the problem is people are bringing in their own list, right? And like you said, for me, um, you could have some idea where I was, but it was like it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter that he's 25 years old dealing with four more of his other children. You know what I mean? Like, what is he doing, twiddling his thumbs or whatever else? But I was 24 with four more kids, and or 25. Let me say 25. So total of five kids at that point. Um, Trying to keep that going, trying to keep some balance and all of that. And again, it's a lot easier that somebody else should have done it. But when you turn 25 and realize it ain't all figured out and it ain't all done, and that your kids are still have two more demands on top of everything you've already done, you get a bit of perspective about it. And so it's very tough to communicate to your kids how much broken glass you're climbing over to make anything possible. Like, I have four kids. I'm 8 hours away. Uh, this is food in their mouth. This is everything else. And I'm still just like, I haven't called her in a while. Do I have 25 or $50 to call my 8-year old just to say, hey, you still matter. You're still alive? No, it's not that. I just have to, right? Um, Hopefully we have something to eat Christmas, but I can't skip her Christmas. Do we have enough? No, but I don't want her to feel like she's been left out, and the kid doesn't get that. The kid doesn't get that uh, there's other mouths to feed, and you may have put something aside to make sure that you can try to make that day special for them, and squeeze something out because they're just going, yes, but I had a dance 2 weeks ago, and you could have been there for not 8 hours away with no car and four kids, and I mean, and so it gets to be very, very difficult to try to balance all those expectations.
So, with that being said, you know, there's still like now that you see that I'm in a or that I've had kids, and we know we have to have the same lens for, you know, the father that is my kid's father. Um, you know, the kids did not choose, just like my kids, like Esteban didn't choose for me to have another child and all this stuff. I still have to be actively involved in both of their lives. Don't matter the price or what have you. I can't make any excuses. I have to just do it. I have them all day, every day. And I know it's a little bit different with, with you being outside of the house, but there's still no, I understand what happens or whatever, but I think the gap is when the mother has the child 24/7, all day, every day. It don't matter if we don't have a penny. We still got to make a way. We can't even dare make an excuse. We
Yeah, I
cannot
think
dare.
society
Uh,
sets it up that way, pitting fathers and mothers together. I mean, because with you, as you already know this story, call my bluff. I didn't have no problem with you living in Cleveland, right? I go to the court. It was no difference to me whether there was four kids with me, five kids with me. I need to be out of the house, or you take care of the kids or whatever else. And it feels both ways, which is, hey, I'm gonna be with the kids all alone, and where's the father, or whatever else. And if the father's like, well, give them to me. You're having such a hard time, you can't afford them, whatever else. Give them to me. And the mother's like, you'll never, and
Well,
it's just,
why would she have to give them to you when you could just
yeah,
spend time and see them? If you can't see them now, then what is the point in separating them from the other parent? It's just spend time with them. It's just like make a way. It's just like that's all they need is the time more so than any gift in this world. They need time. So it's like if you could spend all that time, well, you could do it now with them being with me. You can actually come see them. You can actually do what you say you can do. You ain't got the money now, then you ain't gonna have the money with them. You definitely gonna have to have more time to on your job to
but,
provide for this extra
but that's the
child.
same speech the mother's giving you, right? That's just the same thing she's saying. I'm bogged down, I'm worn out, I'm doing all this by myself. And you say, well, I'll take them. And there's like, no.
What is taking
But
them? What is taking
not
them?
the
Why
same
you can't just
stuff.
help? You can help now. All she's asking is for help.
Right.
That's all
I'll
I'm
take
asking
them,
for.
and you contribute to me. That's
How
not
is
fair.
that contributing? The child support don't do absolutely
No,
nothing.
no, it doesn't.
Nothing.
It's
Yeah.
hardly a reimbursement. It's
So
but women aren't lining up to pay the father child support. Right.
of
They're
course
not
not.
like, you
We're
take the
taking
kid,
care of it. We're not
I'll
making
take the
excuses.
kidney any dollars that doesn't mean anything. Because if you do that to me, I'm good. I'm good if you don't pay me child support. I'm good if you do pay child support. But I don't have any of the women I had children with lining up to trade places. They're in a horrible spot, but they wouldn't trade places.
It's not a
I'm
horrible spot.
free.
It's
I don't
being
care.
active
I
in the
never look
child's
back or
life.
whatever else. Then trade places with.
It's
Then I
being
don't.
active in the child's life. You couldn't trade places with the mother. I'm saying like it's being active. It's not taking the child from one person. It's all if we're saying spend more time, if you don't have time for them with them being with us, then you won't have time for them with them being with you. Like if you ain't got the money without them, they cost more. It's a whole being that you're gonna have to afford. If you can't afford them now with them being with us, all we saying you ain't gotta take them, just spend time with them. You ain't gotta make time. You make a way out of no way like we have to do. Period. We get sick, we get all this stuff. We don't get time to say we sick and we can't watch the kids or whatever. It's we have to do what we got to do. Sick and all, still feed them, still with no money, have to take off. All of this stuff happens. We're not saying we need y'all to take the
Since
kids from us.
my
We're just
kids are with me full time, that if I get sick, I'll leave the house. I don't leave the house when my kids are sick. I don't stop working if my kids are sick. I don't abandon my kids if they're sick. I live in my house with my kids day in and day out. Mothers didn't invent that. Fathers do that all the time until these interventions, until there's a split up, and then she
so
takes
you
your Barbie.
adjust to the split up. When you adjust, you do what you must do to be there and include yourself in the child's life. There's like I'm daughter all day, but there's no, and I'm a mother now. So there's no just as we doing the same thing as transparent as we doing as far as the view that you see for what he needs to do. You
Yeah.
know, just because he's in Knoxville doesn't mean that there's I see the same thing that I see that he need to do that I needed you to do. Like there's like no
Expression, because this is how we talk a lot, and a lot of
right,
our conversations, even though we're symbiotic, we're not automatically. Uh, we actually give each other perspective on issues, right? When you're talking to me about relationships or whatever you're going through, yes, a lot of it is, of course, you're my daughter. I'm on your side.
right.
But what we actually do is like what we're doing now. We still sound it out from that perspective that gives us say, hey, how do you feel if it's me saying it, right? You know what I mean? If I didn't understand my children's mothers, do I understand it? What my daughter is going through with her children or her children's father or whatever else. And so I'm sure people feel you've been through this, I've been through this, that we talk to each other to bash people and get support from each other to beat up on it, right? Like, hey, let me call dad so he can beat up on this dude I'm talking to or whatever else. But it sounds like this sometimes, right? So it sounds, everybody thinks we're buddy buddy, and we are. We're extraordinarily close. We're excessively close. But what we consider to be close is giving each other the real, right? This is how I would feel if this was being done. This is how I would feel and we know that's going to have some impact, right? Like, this is what I'm dealing with, and this is how I feel if he won't pick up the phone when one of the children call or whatever else, or he's short or brief with them. This is how I feel, and that's going to translate because we do matter to each other. And so whatever it is, like I said, we don't call to pat each other on the head. We don't talk to each other to. It's like, what the hell is the other person thinking? That's basically what we do, right? What I'm going through this with this guy, whatever else. What the hell is he talking about? Right? And I'll be like, maybe he thinks this, or maybe he thinks that. Um, we've had all kind of situations. You want me to say something? All kind of things have transpired. You've talked me off the list. Maybe she feels like X, Y, Z, or if it was me, I know I would feel like, this, if you're, and that's some of it's tough to hear one way or the other, right? But because you want to be 100% right, but um, but I think what we all still honestly want to do is give people the benefit of the doubt. You have your children's father. You don't need him to be wholly 100% evil. You do just want to understand what may he be up against. He's got multiple children by three different women. Dad, you got multiple children by three different women. What's the hold up on these? Why? What's he dragging about? Everything I don't understand. We're different people. I don't just jockey for him, but I don't just say everything. You know, you're right. I felt like you bent over 100%, even to my chagrin sometimes. I was like this. Nobody's ever bent like that for me. But you're just like, no, I know what I went through, and I'm not gonna risk my kids going through any of these bumps because of how I feel.
Their relationship is totally, and that's one thing I did learn in my situation as far as my parents. Like, parents splitting up has nothing to do with the love of the child. So with me knowing that, it was like, what I'm not gonna do is my feelings and all of how I feel about him, and
Mhm.
since we didn't work out, I'm not gonna allow that to affect their relationship. Because what I don't want is them to have that same hurt that I felt of not having that other parent. You still have to have, you have to know that other parent, like, you, because that's part of you, regardless if you want to exclude that, that's DNA, you can't take that out. Like, they are going to, and I see a lot of, him in them. So they need to know who their other parent is. They need to know the other part of them, period. So I would never, and that's what has helped me to make sure that he stays in their life, and that I don't put my emotions into it where I keep them away from him or whatever. I always keep that door open, like, whenever, get them, whenever. I don't care if it's even outside of whatever, get them whenever,
And that's
period.
the reason we're talking from two different perspectives a little bit, because I know that you've bent over backwards and backwards again, maybe even to the chagrin of some different opportunities where you haven't left, the state or anything else. Um, Making that still your primary focus of their relationship and the impact it may have on them, because maybe it is 2 hours away, 5 hours away, 8 hours away, or whatever else. But that's still a lot of distance. Even with the internet age, you're still just like, it can still have a lot of impact. Yeah, best efforts. Even if I was going to drive them back to Knoxville every other week or whatever else, it's just still a deep impact. And you've been very cautious about disrupting it in any kind of way that it's almost not your relationship to interrupt or disrupt or interfere with. And like, that's a lot, because I've even felt like I don't even know that that's best for you or them, but you just like, that's the way I got to do it, and so it's been
That keep it
tough to
off.
watch at times on that.
Right. It just keeps it out for me. Like, whatever. They need to see as far as him. That's between them. Even when they come back to me, well, ask him why. I don't know, but nothing. Ask him, and I straight up, bye. I'm not giving none of my, or what I think he could be. I don't know what your daddy going through. I don't know why. Ask him. I can. Yes, you can. Ask him. I don't. I'm not him. So, and that just keeps opening the door for them to conversate with their dad. Like, there's no way I'm going to know why. That's why I come to you half the time when I don't understand a lot of things. It's like, this don't make any dang on sense. I can't make no sense out of it, but could you help me understand from his perspective, or any relationship I've been in? I'm like, okay, um, hmm. I'm ready to go. But before I go, I just want to know if this is, what I
Is it
think.
me? Right. We get a lot of "is it me" conversations, right?
Yeah, is it
For both
me?
of us, right? Because we're very introspective of like, despite popular opinion, we are really a lot of, if it's me, it can be fixed. If it's them, I can't make them do it. But if it's me, whatever I'm doing, I can stop. That's not an issue for me. Not a big deal. I would love to know that it's me, because I know it can be resolved. Then I don't have to convince somebody. I don't have to hope against hope that they are willing to hear me out or change or whatever else. I can just be like, done. And so it makes a big difference. I've thought, long and hard, especially as I round the bend of all my kids, aging out into adulthood. If part of it has been a lot of the complaining and belly aching from my kids, of, hey, you're grown, show me how it works. Show me all these great relationships. Show me all of this beauty. Because you know how all of us grow up as kids, right? When I'm grown, it's going to work like this. Knock yourself out. My sons, issues with girls or whatever else. Hey, bro, right? You listen to your mama and whatever else, and I suck. Well, show me how to do it with the ladies. Yeah, it's not that easy, right?
Right.
It's not that easy. You're gonna have women problems, so on and so forth. Same thing for daughters. It's gonna be mindlessly difficult uh, for them to make it an inch without resolving it, because what they're looking for, they don't know what they're looking for. They can't work out what they're looking for. They did not do better than dad, because you can't do better than dad until you understand what happened with dad. And that's just, you know, I don't take any joy in the brick walls my kids hit. I mean, nobody does. Everybody would, you lived your life for your children to have it smooth sailing. But also to build some character is number one thing God wants from you, some humility. And you found through humility that that's where strong, independent woman comes from. Humility. It doesn't come from all the finger wagging and the head shaking and the brandishing it. If you're some dude on the street and I'm a man, I'm gonna this, I'm gonna do that, get some humility, and then you can actually build something, and somebody will want to listen to you and follow you and make you a leader, not just because you know got some long shins and some pubic hairs, but that you are worth following, that you are a true leader, that a woman's should be your helpmate, but she can't help you do the nothing you're doing, right? So she can't help you always get on your feet. You're always in the middle of something. You're always about to. When is it? When is it? At some point, she got a right to demand some results. Hey, I've been behind you X amount of time and we ain't made no traction. Same thing for a woman. Hey, you're if you don't need a man, don't want a man, go get in that line over there. You don't need to come over here and announce it where people are looking for companions and relationships. Go over there and I want to be alone and have five cats lying. Over here people are looking for companions. I don't need to know that you're independent. There's 7 billion people on the planet. If you want to be alone and don't need a man, I don't need to hear about it. I don't ever need to know. There's enough people that want a companion that are trying to find somebody without you being in the way.
Well, I don't think that independent women don't want a companion. Um, I think, and I'm not saying that, I'm saying that if you listen to the woman, you will hear that she does want a companion. She's telling you, look, basically like what you said earlier. I got everything. I mean, I don't need you, but I want you, type of thing. It's like I don't need you for anything because I clearly can handle my own. But with me showing you that I can handle my own and I don't make excuses and all that stuff, I don't want to hear nothing. Basically, no excuses from no grown man. If we can make plans and we can do all this stuff, and you a man, you have to understand that our plan is that you exceed us. And I'm not saying like, it's just
No, not necessarily that they make $1 more than you, or not
yeah, it's just
necessarily. But I
make
think,
nothing out of something like what we have to do all day, every day. We make nothing out of something. We have absolutely nothing. So when we hear nothing as an excuse that I don't have nothing, I can't hear can't be in the vocabulary. That's one thing I did learn from myself that he said can't is not in your vocabulary. You can, you will try. We cannot say can't, period.
no,
I
and
mean,
I
you
think
haven't even tried it.
you've actually had a few examples, watching me, over the years, and growing up with your stepfather, as you said, right? You know, and you're just like, it's tit for tat the way the conversations go with both of us, or the way we come at problems and issues. And a lot of your expectations have been set by those men in your life, right? Like, there's an issue coming up, they expect to be head of their household, they expect that weight to be on their shoulders, they expect them to resolve it. And the women involved, one being your mother, right? Or just like, okay, hey, I put my part in, but he has to, and it's been harder for you to imagine settling for less than that. If I'm gonna be behind you, you have to be pulling this thing.
Communication is key. Like if I cannot since I mean a lot of guys will say, you always going to your daddy or whatever, whatever. Well, you take on that. But if you can't even, see, and it's not just with daddies. I'm able to talk to other men and they are able to understand. But people communication. If you cannot communicate and you gotta walk away like a 2-year-old, and I'm looking for examples for my son. That's number one. You got to be an example for my son. I'm not going to have my son running every time there's confrontate or, oh, I don't want to deal with conflict. Oh my gosh. Oh, well, you going to run every time? You're a whole grown man and you're going to run every time there's conflict. You can't deal with that. You can't handle that. You can't gracefully deal with that in a godfully order without, having to run all the time. Like, you have to know how to actually communicate, even in difficult situations. Because what are we teaching our children? If you cannot communicate yourself and you run, that's what they're going to do. They're going to run. Every time something difficult happens, oh my God, I got to run. Oh, we're not going to deal with this. We can't. Oh my gosh, you're arguing with me. You're not listening. First, you got to listen. God said be slow to speak and quick to listen. You won't even listen. Because all you hearing is, oh, she nagging. Well, if you come into that mindset when she starts talking or yelling or whatever, obviously she had to get to that point where she's starting to yell.
Well,
Where
I
she's
think
tapping you this whole time.
that's a child, not a man, right? Which is like, you constantly having to go in the room and remind your kids to clean up. So, that's how you feel as a parent, right? Like, I hope I don't have to tell this knucklehead today to make up their bed or whatever else. Same thing if you're a woman with a man, you're hoping like, I shouldn't have to bring this up. Eventually he's going to come to me and tell me what the plan. Eventually he's going to say, okay, I done worked it out. Here's what we're going to do. If it gets to the point where I'm going, so what are we doing? You're like, I don't know. I hadn't thought about it. You're like, I thought you've been working on it on the back. in the background the whole time, and I'm not nagging you. I suspected that you were gonna come to me long before I had to mention it to you, that you're gonna just be like, okay, what's this or what's that? What do I need to know? So we can get the ball rolling. If I'm a woman and I gotta bring it up, I gotta ask you, so what's going on? Either you tell me, oh, I already handled it, maybe, right? Or yeah, here's what I was thinking. But if you was like, I don't know, Shanidra, I mean, what do you want me to do?
Bye. I'm just playing. But now, I mean, I'm talking about the old Shanidra. That, I wanted guys to listen, but I didn't listen. You listen to me, but I didn't listen. But
Yeah,
now that God is dealing and healing me, now I'm quick to listen now. Now I'm really trying to figure out, like, okay, it don't make sense. So Shanidra, shut up. Even if they yelling or what, take yourself out of it, Shanidra, and listen so you can hear what they are actually saying. Because if two people are talking at the same time, number one, you ain't gonna hear nothing. But sometimes the very thing that you're wanting is the same thing that they're wanting. And if they're not feeling like they're being heard and you're not feeling like you're being heard, neither one of y'all are listening, but y'all trying to make plans and do all these things without hearing each other. It's never gonna work because it's always gonna be conflict. Well, that's not, and they don't help me, and not it. Well, first listen before you make any plans for any woman, because a lot of men will make plans or think that that's what I need and all of that. Well, you said plan and I have to show you, but can you first hear what I need?
no,
Not what you see on the outside that you think I need. Can you ask me first what I actually need or want?
make the plans without the input, because for me, if I'm planning for both of us, you have to know what both people are capable or willing to do, right? So that has to be a discussion, right? Like, this is how this is going to be broken up. This is how we're going to come at this. It's like being the quarterback in football of a play, right? Like, hey, you go run an out route, or you go, I don't know that you know football, but you have to tell the other player what the play is. And so this is what we're trying to do. You know what their function is, and you have to say, are you comfortable with this? Do you agree? Do you understand what we're accomplishing? Because you need feedback right away. If they don't feel like they're going to do it, if they're going to choke, then there was no point in you just imposing it on them. You go down there and do that, and you would be downtown and tell them this tomorrow, and I'll go do this. Well, if they're scared, they're shaky, they don't know what to say, they go blow it or whatever else, then you didn't accomplish anything.
Or if
Do you
they don't have the
understand?
gas to go down there, but you didn't ask all that, you just plan to. Well, you just need to go down there and all of this, but you didn't see if I could make it down there. You didn't see if I could make it back. You didn't see if I was gonna be able to eat. You didn't see none of that. You just, this is gonna work. I know it's gonna work. This is what you need to do. I don't need to ask you nothing. I'm gonna tell you what you need to do.
That's a recipe for failure. You even know that as a parent, right? Like, I got to go based on, you don't need your kids' input per se, but if you need it to work, you need their input. Do you understand what I'm telling you? Do you see why we're trying to do this? Do you feel like you can get it done? All these things are important if you're counting on another person for the success of the plan. The plan can be as good as anything, but if they don't understand it, they can't do it, whatever it is, it's not going to work. And then you're going to be frustrated. Why couldn't you do this little bit? Why couldn't you do this particular thing? Maybe it's just a little thing in your head, but it was very difficult to them, or they didn't understand it, or they didn't know why, or what have you. You owe them at least to attempt and respect to say, so this is what I think. What do you think? This is how it should go. And I was thinking you could do this part. How do you feel about it? Be ready to switch it out. Don't just be lazy and pick apart. And they're just like, well, I'm not really comfortable talking to the people, whatever else. Well, you just got to do it because I got to do this, that, and other. Well, would you rather do this one? And I go downtown and talk to the people? You're the king of it all. You should be flexible that I can do any of them. I can put you in, you can get in where you fit in or wherever you're comfortable, and I'll take on whatever the heavier load is. That's what the leadership role is. If you're that kind of man, you should be able to do anything you could tell somebody else to do.
But I think it's important. What I learned even in my relationships that God showed me about me was that the thing that I was complaining to God and telling God about men and all this stuff, I was like, look at this. Look at, he's not even listening. Look at this guy. Deal with him, and all of this stuff. And it was like, God was like, that's what you was doing. I'm like, I listen and I know it. And he was like, no, you don't. You don't listen. You tell people what it's going to be. And you never see what they're going through. You don't want to hear it, and that's how I was. But then when it happened to me, I was like, they didn't even hear what I was going through. They didn't care. They just telling me to do all this stuff, but they didn't even first ask if I could do the stuff, or first ask if I had the gas, or had they just telling me this what you need to do, this what you need to do, this what you need to do. Not knowing my financial status, not knowing none of my status, or nothing, didn't think that, see. And then when I try to explain this, no, we're not going to make excuses and all this. I had me on me. How about that? So, because when a guy came with excuses to me, it was like, no, this is what we need to do. I've already mapped this out. I've already planned this all in my head. So there's nothing that you can say at this point, because I did A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So if this don't work, then we're gonna go to B, C, D. But I never consulted with the other person. It's just like I'm telling them what to do, how to do it, boom. But never asking, hey, do you got gas to go here to do that? Are you gonna be able to? Because your schedule or anything, it's like, no, you need to cut out your schedule and you need to do this, and not considering anything else that they had to do. So I had to learn after it happened to me, and God clearly let me see. I was like, wow. So I wasn't listening, and now I'm trying to listen. Now I'm trying to hear, like, okay, what did you say? I just
Yeah,
said. I'm
and
like,
that's
could you
what I try
repeat
to
that
do
so I can
is
get it?
you also take people's situation, like you're saying, and background into consideration, right? Like for me, I had everything had to come unconventional, right? I don't have my parents. I'm going group home, foster homes, all kind of things growing up. So for me, um, it's like, hey, here's the mother you live with. Well, here's your new mother, right? Here's the school you're going to. Here's your new school. Here's your friends you have. Here's your new friends. I went from Vestal to Paraguard, back over to uh, went to basically every high school in Knoxville. All kind of things. And for me, unconventional was normal, right? So if a situation need to be resolved, I might be just like, well, we'll cut through the bushes and roll down this hill, and then we'll end up on the main road. And women be looking at me like, what? Why are we doing all of that? Why are we climbing a tree and sliding down through a creek and doing all of this when, all everybody is just saying you just go down this road and then you'll come out the other side. That's not the life I had. That things were just going to be on a conveyor belt. That's a luxury when you grow up with your parents, that somebody's constantly trying to pave the road in front of you and make sure that things are going to be laid out and that you don't have to do any extra to get to where you're going, right? Your school clothes will be there, your food will be on the table, everything will be in line. I didn't grow up with those expectations. I grew up with, I don't know what tomorrow will be or where I might be or what might be going on. And I may have to sever every tie I have right now with everybody and everything and be in a completely different situation and circumstance tomorrow. And that's jarring to people.
Right.
Everybody can pick up and live in a different state tomorrow, start a different job tomorrow, move into a different house once a year. A lot of these things are jarring to people who are used to reasonable stability in their life. And I'm going, but if you want to get from here to here, this is what we have to do. And they're just like, I'm sure there's an easier route. It's like, it's not an easier route. But then they're content with not getting there. And that's going to cause a friction because they're going to be like, well, if we got to do all of that, just to live in this neighborhood or to have this or whatever else, I'm good. and that can be distracting because then you get one person moving at one pace and another person moving at another pace, and you're always going to be bumping heads over that.
Right. So, to conclude the show, you must
What
know
already?
you must get to know the person. You don't really know somebody. You can say you know, but you really don't know. And until I didn't know the backstory of my dad. I didn't know, I heard that he was in foster care, but I didn't know all the ins and outs. And you don't know, the effect that that has on the person. We expect people to be certain ways in our mind all the time, but it's never, when it don't pan out, then we pointing everything out when it don't pan out. It's like, oh well, they should have did this or they should have did that. But shoulda, coulda, woulda. That's in the past. So what are we gonna do in the future? We're gonna keep bringing the past to the future, or we're going to move forward. Okay, you wasn't here then back then, so okay, I understand what happened. Thank you. It was like now I understand that you did love me. All the feelings that I had or whatever, that's in the past. Because now I know for sure that you did, that not did, you do.
Right.
I don't want to confuse that, but that you do love me. And, I didn't know all the ins and outs of you trying to fight to get me or anything like that. Because all in my head was, I didn't see you. So that's what it was. It's like,
No,
I didn't see you.
and,
It don't matter.
and we talked about it was tough, and we're definitely gonna wrap it up. We had a plan to be done in a half hour, and we knew how that was going. But but the but it was important, like you just said, for so many people not reaching out to the estranged parent, concerned that the worst could happen, that I could have met my dad, or you could have met your dad, or whatever else. And then it's like, well, if he doesn't want me, if we don't have a good relationship, it doesn't matter. I don't care. I'm my own man. I'm gonna live my own life, or I'm my own woman. I'm gonna live my life regardless. And you're all prepared for the person to be like, yeah, I don't even know if you're mine. I don't care. I never look back. Your mom was this, that, and the other. But probably 9 out of 10 times, that's not what happens to anybody. And if it does, it's still an answer. It's still closure. It's still not going to mess up the rest of your life because you're carrying around some void. So if you do find your estranged parent, they're just like, nope, I never wanted you. You don't look nothing like me. Deal with it. Very likely, that's not what's going to happen. What's going to happen? But whatever the outcome is, face up to it, get it over with, and move on. If people don't take anything else from this situation, but like I said, yeah, we've more than probably doubled the time, right?
Yeah. So I was just saying that, you said that you met your dad at 23. I didn't meet you at 23. But I had Estefan at 22. So that would have meant that I didn't talk to you, have that conversation with you until I was about 23. So as we can see, this leads on from generation until we are actually able to, and I would have hated to, you know, uh, you know, wasted so much more time. And like you said, you didn't have much time with your parents because I think my granny died when I was in high school. So, and I don't know when my granddaddy, I've never met him. So, um,
It was a couple of years after, and I was grateful that the grudges didn't go in the ground with me, right? And so I'm glad I wasn't carrying that, and that I recognized they were two people who met because they were young, and both of them had lost their mother. That put me in a lurch because they didn't end up taking care of me, and then they didn't have no mothers to step in to take their place if they screwed up, you know. So that just was bad for me all the way around. But I was able to know them as adults, who they were and whatever else. And I'm way too old to be just like, well, you didn't teach me how to ride a bike or throw a football or whatever else at this point. Hey, how you doing? And just a little bit of what's your side a little bit, right? Like it was not sufficient that my dad was like, I didn't know what happened. Your mother moved back to Tennessee and I didn't know where you were. Yes, but you live 2 blocks from my grandfather. You see him all the time. You could have asked. You could have made a way. You got other family here that would have dropped. But hey, you know what? Don't worry about it. I'm going to drive from Cleveland to Tennessee and keep in contact with my child and make sure that she doesn't feel the way I did. Don't use Cleveland to Tennessee as an excuse. That's all I can do about it. I can't make you go back and redo 1975. All I can do is 1993, right? And make sure that my daughter isn't sitting around the way I was, you know, wondering what's going on.
So that's all it is. Even, as a parent, I mean, we can't fill every void that we had or whatever. And we have to actually deal with situations in order to heal from it. I had to deal with the hurt. I had to actually, I didn't come to you like, oh, hey, daddy, I'm so excited. Just want to tell you some great things. It was like, look, this is how you hurt me. I was hurt. And, I was straightforward to the point, and it was a tense conversation at first, but then since we both want to hear the other person out, it was just like, okay, hold up, let me listen, because my daddy said I came here to hear his side. So we need to listen so that we can actually deal in order to heal. I have so many friends that are in the situation I was in at 23, and they're like, should I talk to my dad or whatever? I'm like, yes, go ahead. What are you? Because I don't know. I didn't know either. I was freaking out. I had every doubt in my mind about, and I'm not saying everybody's relationship is going to turn out our way.
Right.
Uh,
But
but yeah,
you've also had siblings that still came into it like this, like, he's going to be like this and I'm prepared for it not to work or to have attitude or to, like your brothers, right? Or of as bad as you had it, these other two sets of situations are like, well, at least he's around you and this and they're like, no, I'm not the one that fared the best or whatever else. But from their perspective, you know what I mean? Everybody has a perspective like, well, at least you knew him the whole time. At least he was coming to see you. At least we didn't. And you're just like, well, it wasn't great for me either. But, there's like one set like, well, at least you were in the same country, come to see you. At least your mother let you talk to him. And it was like, man, I was complaining and they trying to out complain me, about how worse it was for them, right? And so there's no really competitions when it comes to pains and voids, like, well, your situation wasn't as bad as mine. That's how I look at my kids to some degree, right? Like, at least this, because what I went through was 100, but you can't. Pain is pain.
so yeah, and all we can do is improve with our own children and keep it moving. I mean, I'm not going to waste no more time on holding on to something. See, forgiveness is all about you, because once you forgive, it's like, whew, you don't know how much weight you are carrying when you hold in unforgiveness, and it is unforgiveness when you holding on a grudge or whatever, and I'm not gonna let that. Why? What is? Why are you wanting to hold on to that hurt? Why? I mean, why? Why would you want to hold on to that? Even
So
if we did not pan out, I would have been okay. Now I can move accordingly. Now I know for sure. Now I don't have to have all these doubts or whatever, what it was all about. Okay, he just didn't want to be okay. Boom, moving accordingly, moving on. Now I can move on with my life. Now I know.
if we didn't get along, it'd be like, what's your relationship with your dad? We don't really get along. We don't really talk. But that's what the relationship is. At least, it's it's in its own category.
So well, that's all. I just wanted to help people see that it's not what you think it is to be. For me, it wasn't no, oh, she had it all great and everything was everything. And no, I had some voids as well that I had to deal with. This was one of my biggest voids, that I had to come to grips with and move forward with, so that I could have a better, like my daddy said, we should be already whole. We should already be healed. Not saying that you would never have any baggage coming into a relationship, but you shouldn't come into a relationship trying to get love. You should already love yourself, number one, and build that relationship with my father, number one. My heavenly father, because he's the only one that's going to give you the love that you need. There's no human being that's going to be able to give you the love to the capacity that you are wanting, but God. And I even tell my own kids that, like, you're not going to get whatever you're expecting out of me is clearly, because like my dad said, kids are always going to, no matter what you doing in the world, you jumping over, like you said, glass, you walking on glass and everything just to make sure that they have this and that, but all they see is that one thing you did not do. But you didn't even bring my paper that I left at home, but you were supposed to bring it. Now I got an F. You got an F because yourself, not because of me, but so and then everything that they want from you, they want you to be this super, but I'm letting them know, look, I'm human too. So let's not be confused. I'm human too. Mama has feelings too. And when I tell you, you know, to give mommy some time so I can unwind.
Important lesson, because kids need to go out in the world realizing other people are human too. And that's a precedent that parents set by constantly trying to meet all their children's expectation. And there's like, well, hey, my mother was a maid, my daddy was a butler for me. And then when I go out here to get a mate, my wife's going to be a maid or my husband's going to be my butler, right? I got my checklist of everything I'm going to want from them. Oh, and I want this and I want this. And what another person like, I don't work for you. This is a team situation. What are you, did you know what you're exchanging for all this stuff you wanted? I'm me. That's all you need. I exist. So, what I'm doing what I need to do for you. I brought myself to the table. Now, back to my list. A woman need to be this fine, and she need to carry this, and she need to be able to, like, watch out. You know what I mean? People are going to have expectations. Do you have something to barter with? Do you have something to exchange that's worth it for them to deal with you and your nonsense? And
Because
that's
a
the
lot of people want a woman that, oh, I want a God-filled woman. I want a woman that has her own. I want this woman. I want this woman. You get that woman, and she's guided by God, and you can't figure out when she's coming and going, and not that the woman is not going to communicate these things, but
right.
sometimes things change. But this is what you wanted. But she's not going to always have the time that you're wanting, and with her being led by him instead, you're gonna feel like, the last relationship, this is what they wanted. They wanted
Mhm.
this woman of God, and they wanted, uh, a business minded woman, and you're everything. You're this and you're that. Oh yes, you're what I want. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
But are you gonna the whole package? Like, I have kids. I'm a mom, number one. I have two kids, two of them. Then my business, but God is in the center of all of it. So, and I spend my time with my father. So, um, you know,
It's
and
really taking off that pedestal, right? A little bit. I have people get in relationships with me like, oh, I'm on now, right? Got a dude, he's gonna do everything. I'm done. And it's like, no, you sold me this strong, independent woman, right? Stay that, and we're gonna have two engines, right? Not hand it off to me, to lug both bags, and that's an opposing situation where people ask for what they want and then mess around and get it and then blow it up because you weren't ready for what you asked for. That's going to entail a lot of things, right? So you say, hey, strong woman, okay, then she's not sitting around twiddling her thumbs all day. You
wanting
say a
you.
real man, you're gonna have your face pinched up sometimes because you're gonna be like, no, we're not doing that. Well, I want somebody to tell me what I want to hear. Well, you know what kind of dudes do that. You know what kind of dudes are just like, yeah, I ain't nobody special like you. If you was my woman, I'd give you this all day. Okay, I ain't gonna tell you that. I'm a grown man. Some of the things you want to do, we'll do. Some of them we won't. In a relationship, or you want to, give order. So people got to be realistic and take people off the pedestal. If I get a girl, that fine. If I get a dude with this kind of money or whatever else, I'll be straight. No, you'll be straight when you make that deal, and that deal is almost made every day. They're not your mom, they're not your dad. They don't owe you unconditional love. It's very conditional, and you have to pay for it every day, like you're getting on the bus. You owe them every day that they're giving you. There's no point where they're just going to take over and keep giving you after you stop.
So, but yeah, so again, if you take anything out of this, it's, get to know people. You don't know them at all. If you haven't taken the time to listen and get their story so you can see their glory, and all you see is negative and every little detail that they do, you're confused and all of that stuff, that means you're still abused, and you need to you need to deal in order to heal with yourself before you get into anything else. Uh, if you get into anything before then, and before you heal, you you packing that baggage and you putting it on everybody else's boat. Now they're gonna have to throw you off the boat like they had to do with Jonah, because you bringing all these storms into everybody else's life because you don't want to think twice. You don't want to sacrifice or do anything because you just feel like glory is your name. So you cannot complain about everything if you have not yet taken the time
Change.
to listen. Yeah, to change. And I mean, you cannot stay the same. Nobody. I'm not the same. I change every day. Every day, there's something else I could see that I need to change. There's something about my attitude. There's something about something that I can change every day. You never arrive at a particular time. Oh, I've arrived and I don't need to change any. Oh, yes, you do. All day, there's something I see every day that I can change about me.
You should.
So,
You should take that to your grave. You should want that from now on, because you should be constantly looking for blind spots. Like, what don't I know? What ignorant thing have I been saying for the last 50 years that don't make no sense? I need to find it. Everybody else knows I'm making a fool out of myself. I need to find it. If somebody's trying to tell you what you're doing and you haven't heard it and you keep not hearing it, you know, people that are done growing because people feel like they're done growing, just uh, I'm not going to settle for no less, and I'm not going to do this, that, and the other, and people want to take me as I am. You will be alone. You have a 100% chance of being alone, because that's not a deal anybody has to take. Not for me, not for anybody.
even like you said, when I come to you, it's like, what did I do? What am I not seeing? I'm not coming to you like, Daddy, take my side, and da da da. I'm like, Daddy, tell me what, because I can't see nothing that I've done. I mean, this ain't making no sense. But I'm gonna tell you what happened, or I'll screenshot you so you can see the whole story. I don't never just tell you parts that make me look good or anything like that. I'm telling you because I want to know for real, how you feel. Like I don't want any, deals or whatever that's not real. I want to know exactly how you feel.
We consider that to actually be the help, right? Like, hey,
Right.
we're calling each other for help. We consider the help to be like, well, maybe this or maybe that. I know when I tell you my situation, you go, I don't know. Like, here we go, right? Because I'm 100% agreement. That's I can kind of see how she feels with it. If that was me and being a mom. All right, but that's facts, right? I mean, because you at least get to walk away from the call feeling like not only did you vent a little bit, but somebody gave you something useful,
Right.
not just kind of a pat on the head or just let you use them as a sounding board and leave, but try to give you some actual feedback that you can use.
Right. So that's all I do. I just, hey, what did I do wrong? Because I can't see it. I mean, I'm frustrated right now, and I'm like, what did I do wrong? This is what happened. Like, and I'm telling you piece by piece by piece, and you're like, okay, just
And I go, you're my little girl. You're perfect. And if they don't understand that, the hell with them. I don't say that, right? No, we.
No. You're like, no, you should have. And like that, I'm like, well, but, and then even when I say but, it's just still like, no, if that was me, and then that's when I can clearly see, would you want, and that's how I do with you, like, Daddy, would you want somebody to be like that when you like, well, I'm like, I'm waiting because I'm like, I know you're not gonna give me the same answer. So, with us having each other to bounce off of, and we know that we care for each other, and we're able to see from that perspective, like, okay, I wouldn't want nobody talking to my daddy like this, so I shouldn't be talking, or my son, I
Right.
shouldn't be talking to nobody like this because I'm not accepting this from mine.
Yeah, and it doesn't make you wrong. It just means maybe you can come back and help the other person re-engage by saying, "Okay, I got some idea of what you're trying to say. Is that what you're trying to say?" And they're like, "Yeah, that's all I was trying to say. I wasn't attacking you. I was actually trying to communicate." Then you have another jumping off point because you're no longer feeling like they're out to serve themselves and trying to hurt you. You're just in a miscommunication thing. Somebody else then broke it down of what they're trying to say. You go, "Is this what you're trying to say?" And if they go, "Yeah, that's basically where I was coming from," you get to go back and say, "Okay, I understand that you might feel like X, Y, or Z." You don't have to go back. Well, I just talked to my dad, and he says you might feel like this. You just kind of go, "Let's go back to this. Do you kind of feel like this or this?" And you kind of bounce it off of them. And if they just like, "Yes," now you go, "Okay, well, then that's what I was missing, right?" And
Right,
then we have a starting point that you're not out to ruin my life or kill me.
right. So, but I hope you got something from this show. I hope that you know that you don't know people uh, until you actually listen. And I keep saying listen because people, I do listen because I said the same thing. I listen, but I didn't listen. Like you have to actually shut up to listen. Like you really cannot hear while you're talking. Like you have to shut up. Like be quiet. Don't say a word and listen, sit down, get out your own feelings, all of that. I have to take Shanidra out. Like, okay, Shanidra, just act like they talking about somebody else so you can hear them. That's how I have to do it. I'm not telling you how to, listen to people, but you have to take yourself out so that you can actually hear them
Yeah,
because
it's in that way because you have to. I've even said, like you tell for your kids, tell me your interpretation of what
yeah,
I see. If you're going to be on a debate team at school or whatever else, they should be like, okay, you switch places. Now you argue for guns and you argue against it. And somebody should be able to do that with you. They should be able to just go, what is Shanidra saying? If you don't have any idea any idea what you said, they just got one in the chamber that they're waiting on you to shut up so they can go ahead and say what they were going to say regardless. No matter what you said, no matter how you explained it, no matter how you broke it down, they're going to be like, well, yeah, but you don't want to. You were going to say that even though I've given you new information to process and respond to. You didn't even hear that I agreed with you or whatever else. You just waiting. You just waiting to hit back.
and that's hurt. So you're gonna have to deal with that hurt because that's all that is. You're in defense mode because you've been hurt, so you don't want nobody to have anything up on you. So you on attack mode, like, oh, I'm ready to attack. Oh, because ain't nobody going else gonna hurt me. I done been hurt before. So you ready. You just ready to fight. You ready. Like, I ain't hearing nothing that they saying because they ain't gonna hurt me. They ain't gonna hurt me. That's what it's really saying. When you on defense mode, can't nobody talk to you. You can tell everybody about themselves, but they can't tell you nothing. They can't tell you the truth about you. Then that's where you confused at. You're not who you think you are because you can't even take the truth. See, I could take the truth. I hear the truth all day, every day. I don't know why people think that, oh, Shanidra must get compliments all the time and yeah, she gets pushed. No. What pushes me is when people say I can't be something that I know I can be. When you say that I can't do this, that's my motivation. Tell me I can't do it. Tell me I can't do it and watch me do it. Watch me. That's my motivation because that's all I've known. That's all I've heard. So if I've only heard that type of thing and I've been able to move accordingly, that's my motivation. It's not people pat me on the back. Oh yes, great, Shanidra, you're doing awesome. I love everything you do. No, that don't motivate me. That means I need to improve. If they're loving everything I do, I need to improve some more. I need to do something else because So that's all it is. You need to deal with the hurt. You need to speak with your father. You need to know your heavenly father, and if you don't have a relationship with your biological father, you need to know that other part of your DNA. You can't erase your DNA. That's
Or biological mother, if that's your situation,
or
right?
biological mother, because that
You're
happens
adopted
too.
in the foster care, if you're raised by your father, um, that other part of you is still just part of you, and you got to get it down. But we probably talked way too long, but you never know. We try to let God guide it, and so that maybe the last 10 minutes was what somebody needed to hear. Maybe 30 minutes ago was somebody else needed to hear. You never know. So we just try to go with the flow.
Right. So that's all we have to let you guys know on today. I hope you pray and obey the Almighty and do it your way and not hit the highway. But that's all we have to say on today. Hopefully, we'll have another conversation. If you want to inbox me with anything that you would like to see, for our next talk or whatever, we will be glad to. I'll be glad to tell. I'll make sure my dad once we get off of here. But if you have any conversations that you would like to discuss or whatever, or topics, you can inbox me. Either if you're on YouTube, you can comment, or inbox me on Shanidra Matthews on Facebook. So that's all we have for you on today. Have a great day.